Pete is a little bitch. He's definitely made of vagina.
No, you just blew my mind with your last comment.
What happens when the tables turn and instead of gaining admiration and respect, employees find themselves humiliated? Let's look at a glimpse at employees got humiliated on Undercover Boss. This depicts an embarrassing incident that occurred during a Hooters episode of Undercover Boss. Kobe Brooks, the boss, travels undercover to observe the workplace and employee interactions. Brooks notices an employee named Jimbo who shows utter disrespect for the Hooters girls. He critiques one girl's nails, calling them unattractive, and even proposes that she get another tattoo. Jimbo's actions demonstrate a clear ignorance of how the Hooters brand should be treated and how employees should be treated. When Jimbo organizes games and activities to choose which girl can go home early, things take an even more degrading turn. He proposes a bean eating contest in which the girls must eat without using their hands.
Go! Oh, get some of that. Come on, girl. Who wants to go home?
Brooks is greatly disheartened by this kind of objectification and degradation as he battles to preserve his covert persona and bite his tongue. Brooks eventually reveals himself to Jimbo and confronts him about his inappropriate actions. He stresses Jimbo's conduct is rude and unjust, and he demands an apology from the entire crew.
That you interact with the girls, quite frankly, is inappropriate.
And I took a step back and, okay, I get it.
Brooks is a fervent believer that business and sales should never come at the expense of respect and decency. In the video, a CEO decides to go undercover to address charges of humiliation and harassment at work. The CEO disguises himself and walks into one of the company's offices. He begins by monitoring the employees and their relationships with one another. During his undercover assignment, he hears management verbally harassing an employee.
I'm going bankrupt tonight, you know that, right? You think I come here happy all the time?
That's my fault. I give you the 5 days, 6 days work. What
Not
is
my
the
hours.
The employee communicates her displeasure and through tears confesses her difficulties, including the fact that she is on the point of bankruptcy. She explains that she puts up with the harassment since it allows her to work and care for her children. The CEO chooses to help after hearing the employee's story and seeing her sorrow. He directly addresses the management, seeking an explanation for the mistreatment. The CEO underscores the significance of treating people with dignity and expresses his displeasure with the manager's actions.
You can't treat people like this when they're crying at work. No, come on. Employees come first.
Despite the risk to his own undercover identity and possibly his job, the CEO speaks out against the manager's behavior. He is concerned about ensuring a positive work atmosphere for all employees and confronts the management to address the issue. Wes, an employee, became a source of anger and frustration for the company's CEO. Wes managed to catch the notice of the CEO, who was undercover at the time, through his actions and rude attitude towards his co-workers. From the minute the CEO met Wes, it was clear that his behaviors were generating disruptions in the workplace. Wes appeared to have little regard for the hierarchy or the respect owed to his co-workers. He displayed a level of arrogance and superiority that rapidly irritated the CEO. Wes not only ignored the chain of command, but he also got into fights with other employees.
Pete is a little bitch. He's definitely made of vagina.
No, you just blew my mind with your last comment.
His rude behavior generated a toxic work climate that hampered teamwork and cooperation. The CEO became extremely angry as he witnessed directly the detrimental consequences of Wes's conduct. In one episode of Undercover Boss, a CEO shows his concern for his company by acting when he sees a sales manager mistreating prospective clients at Retro Fitness. The CEO, who has disguised himself as an employee named Mark, grows increasingly uneasy as he witnesses Megan, the sales manager, talking with potential clients. The CEO is perplexed by Megan's approach and treatment of the clients. He can't take it any longer and chooses to intervene to save the situation. Recognizing the significance of retaining members and providing a pleasant customer experience, the CEO steps in to clinch the deal and guide Megan in a more efficient sales technique. Recognizing the importance of attentively listening to clients' needs and establishing a pleasant environment, the CEO takes leadership of the sales process. He advises Megan to concentrate on developing relationships with the clients and underlines the need for respectful communication. The CEO's involvement tries to correct the abuse and push Megan toward a more customer-focused approach. Aaron, a company delivery driver, stunned his co-workers and bosses when he acknowledged indulging in illicit activities on the job. His revelation sent shockwaves across the business, raising questions about the company's operations integrity and the potential implications. Aaron maintained a position of trust and responsibility as a delivery driver. He was tasked with delivering things to customers in a timely and safe manner. Aaron's actions had an impact that went beyond his personal choices. It created significant dangers to the company's reputation, client relationships, and legal standing. Engaging in illicit actions not only jeopardized the organization's integrity, but also put others in danger, including his coworkers and the wider public. The corporation acted quickly after learning of Aaron's admission. They launched an internal inquiry to determine the scope of his illicit activity and identify any potential collaborators. In the meantime, they notified the necessary authorities to guarantee that justice was done. It also emphasized the significance of establishing an organizational culture of transparency, accountability, and ethical behavior.
You would, in your Donato's uniform, to do something that's illegal. I have to let you go. As a delivery driver.
Really?
One scene from an episode of Undercover Boss sticks out, in which the CEO takes decisive action by closing down a Checkers restaurant on the spot. The CEO's discovery of poor conditions and the restaurant's management's disrespectful behavior drove the decision. While disguised as an undercover employee, the CEO watches the general manager shouting at and demeaning the restaurant staff. The CEO expresses his disapproval of the behavior he witnesses, particularly when the general manager threatens his employees with physical assault. The CEO makes the difficult decision to close the restaurant due to the necessity of treating employees with respect and preserving a great work culture.
Right here, right now, we're going to shut the restaurant down.
The CEO's actions serve as a cautionary tale, showing the consequences of improper workplace behavior and underlining the importance of treating employees with respect. Ronnie, a Boston Market employee, faced the consequences of his rude attitude toward customers and co-workers when he was eventually removed from his position. His actions, characterized by a lack of professionalism and contempt for others, were destructive to the workplace's harmony and reputation. Customer service is critical in the fast-paced setting of a restaurant. Ronnie's hostile attitude toward clients, on the other hand, became a frequent issue. Ronnie regularly failed to achieve the anticipated standards of customer service. Furthermore, Ronnie's rudeness extended beyond dealings with consumers. He demonstrated a lack of respect for his coworkers, harming workplace teamwork and togetherness. His demeanor not only caused discontent among his coworkers, but it also hampered the restaurant's efficiency. Ronnie's firing demonstrated the significance of cultivating a healthy and courteous work environment. It highlighted the importance of staff professionalism, good communication, and mutual respect.
I don't know if this is the business for you.
Oh my God.
I want to think about whether this is really the right job choice for you.
Renee Maloney, co-founder of Painting with a Twist, embarks on an undercover expedition to analyze the operations of her firm in an episode of Undercover Boss. Maloney confronts several problems as she pretends to be an art teacher for the day, leading to some shame and suffering. Maloney initially struggles to handle a brush and exhibit her creative ability, much to the chagrin of her customers and colleagues. Her attempts to crack jokes, especially mom jokes, fall flat and add to the awkwardness of the scenario. Maloney also investigates the shipping department and learns about the rigorous nature of the job. This adds to her sense of embarrassment and the knowledge that running a successful business entails a variety of problems and responsibilities.